This is a good story to tell the dentist.
Can show me again. Delete it? No, you have to delete it because you are taking our picture without our permission. Please delete it. Delete it.
Can I have your picture though? Would you mind if I take a photo of you?
For you?
No, of you. Hello photographer, welcome back to my channel. It's Belinda and this is where we talk all about photography, from inspiration to camera techniques to editing skills so that you can take better photos. Now, I titled this episode as the Christmas edition, but honestly I'm not so sure if we actually get to have Christmas at all this year. Depends on where you are, I guess. Let me know in the comments. But this video is going to be a compilation of a few street shoots I did on separate days in this past week, and I do feel that you can kind of tell that it's still Christmas. And so here is a early Merry Christmas to all of you. Without further ado, let's dive right into it. From across the road, I saw a family of 3 generations all dressed up for Christmas. This combination of wearing a mask with Santa hats is just so 2020. I knew I had to take a picture of that. While crossing the street, I adjusted my settings so that I'm ready to get their picture. It turns out they actually needed someone to take a picture for them as well, so I gladly took some more pictures on their phone. London, in my opinion, is rightly crowned as one of the most fashionable cities in the world. The way people dress here is just amazing. They're blessed with this divine ability to turn the most eccentric of outfits into the most fashionable statements. For example, this is how you walk around like a pink Christmas tree casually every day. I was feeling a little giddy, so I wanted to take a picture of this subtle festivity. At first, I was shooting from an angle so that the lines were converging towards the left of the frame, but it didn't really work out. I leveled my perspective and took shots while people moved past in the background. Here it is about taking multiple shots, and hopefully in one of the shots, the subjects are spaced in a way that looks balanced geometrically. This shot was okay, but I wanted a shot with more people in the background. Oxford Street was really busy that day, and I wanted to reflect that too. I also wanted to document how people were busy doing the Christmas shopping. At this point, I was starting to worry that she might hear my camera clicks, and then she would grow suspicious because I did make a fair bit of noise right behind her. So it was time that I moved on. Well, it was no surprise that I didn't get noticed. This was how loud it was on Oxford Street. By this time, the UK government had already officially announced that London will be rated as a Tier 3 city and will have to enter lockdown again following COVID restrictions. To me, this music sounded like a futile attempt to forget about the giant elephant in the room. People were making every single effort they could to reassure each other that Christmas will still be as joyous as it always had been, despite having the virus around. I was curious to see how people reacted to this music. The response was lukewarm. People were too preoccupied that they couldn't even bother stopping by because they literally have only a few hours left before in-store services are suspended again. I started off with the landscape orientation because at first sight, the interesting things are mostly concentrated towards the ground level, and I wanted to include the empty benches to give a sense of space. But because I was shooting on a 24mm, it also included the other spectators, which is no good. So I switched to the portrait orientation. But this switch was a rather magical one because I started to see so many interesting things that I previously did not see. Firstly, there's a reflection on the massive mirror ceiling, which was a great way to create an even strong sense of space. Not only is there emptiness on the ground level, but the reflection in the ceiling effectively doubled that. Secondly, it was only then when I saw the patch of light on the opposite building. This was a really rare occurrence in winters in London. I feel that I have made this rant many times already in my other point of view videos, but this just shows how gutted I am about this matter. There's something really great that natural sunlight does to the colors that no amount of editing could achieve, not even close. Anyway, the specks of light and especially its texture was a nice addition to the composition of this photo. I had to shift my frame until I get the elements I need and keep the other ones out of the picture. There were a few other people watching here and there, and their reflections are coming in, but nope, they are not getting in my shot. This makes me sound so much like a dictator, but that's the level of intention that I am comfortable with in my street photography. It may vary as I develop, but for now, I do feel that exerting some degree of control is a rather necessary compensation for the random nature of streets. Before I found the band, there was actually another member of the band who stood on the main street on his own to direct people towards the band. I saw him walk back to join the band, and so I thought maybe I could make a few more shots with a different composition. By this time though, another person sat on the bench in front, which makes the foreground so busy in my opinion, and so I walked closer to avoid the benches and also to see what he was about to do. As soon as I got closer, he was actually making his way back, and I was just in time to get this shot of him smiling at the camera. There are pigeons all across London. I'm not sure who's feeding them, but they're just so fat. And they just don't look very photogenic overall, so I am not usually interested in photographing them, but here is an exception. I came across two guys taking a break, and one of them was playing with the pigeons. He was clapping to get their attention, and it's this fleeting moment of happiness that made me want to photograph. So I waited for the crowd to subside and started snapping. In hindsight, I could have stood a bit closer because the 24mm gave me a lot of space, and I ended up having to crop a great deal in post. But who knows, maybe I would have scared the pigeons and ruined the scene. Just as I walked into this plaza, I immediately saw one of the Big Issue agents because their uniform was really catchy. The red vest and the red cap just really recognizable. The idea of asking one of them for a portrait has been in the back of my head for a while, but I needed some buffer time to work out how I'm gonna go about it, so I turned and walked away for a bit. This is also to get a better look around the place because there's quite a bit going on and there might be other things that I could be interested in. So my approach was to start by standing at a distance from him and photograph how people were responding to him. I'm always in for getting some candid shots with multiple subjects because I know it's gonna be a challenge, of course, to make random people not random, but I like how you could have multiple points of interest in the same photo that builds layers in that one story. He clearly saw me already, but I need to get the wide shots first. It's also good to know that he doesn't seem to mind being in frame. I observed that people generally did not seem to notice him, and so I wanted to make a photo about that. I had to wait for a combination of people that could adequately represent the generic passerby, but at the same time not too crowded in the frame. Turns out I also caught some strangers wearing festive clothes passing by. That's definitely a bonus. And here comes another pair of friends who were having a great time among themselves. By now, he would probably have felt really confused because I've been taking so many shots of random people and still show no signs of retreating. Well, so I finally asked him for a photo, and here goes.
Would you mind if I take a photo of you?
Sorry?
Would you mind if I take a photo of you?
For you?
No, of you.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks so much.
No.
I'll have you send. Wait. Right. Cheers. Thank you so much.
I was about to leave the plaza when I came across this scene. This felt so much like a movie scene, and the subjects within collectively tell a story of COVID cross Christmas cross London. People say that it takes a lot to make a living in London, one of those things being the ability to cope with loneliness. As I took a closer look at people on streets, I realized that indeed, there are many lonely moments. And this creates a strange juxtaposition with the concentration of incredibly wealthy people in a city to whom designer brand items is more a household staple than luxury.
You just bought it?
5 years ago.
Oh, 5 years ago. It looks really nice.
Thank you. Why are you taking pictures? Are you involved in?
I'm a street photographer,
Right.
so I go around the city and I just take
You
photos.
find, I've
Yeah.
seen, you find out what people in the street are wearing. It saved my day, by the way. I've got an emergency report for the dentist.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So this is a fun day for me. I've been shielding since February. That's why my hair's so long and it's all gray now. Why don't I go in front of the building that's really nice?
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
It's a good story for me to tell people, tell friends. Guess what happened on the way to the dentist today? Well, it's you taking a picture of my hat and me, because I was so frightened to go out because of the virus. I am in the extremely vulnerable category.
Oh, so this is the building.
Yeah, that's the building. Where do you want me to stand?
Maybe somewhere in the middle.
This is a good story to tell the dentist.
You?
The dentist is, by the way. The dentist is, by the way, this is the place.
Whose pics are you taking?
I take pics of streets.
Please, delete it, please.
Yeah, sure.
Can you show me? Can you show me again? Delete it? No, you have to delete it because you are taking our picture without our permission. Please delete it.
Can I have your picture though?
Of course you can have it. It's a free country.
Do you mind if I direct your posing?
Of course.
Cheers.
Good luck to them.
Oh no, it's okay. I don't want to be.
Yeah, I understand that.
The more I shoot around the city, the more I realize that London is actually full of really amazing people. Well, I guess it's not just London, but people in general are pretty amazing. Especially if you're watching, that makes you even more amazing. Thanks again for watching. Stay safe meanwhile, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!